I'm gonna be so honest, I have not watched an MCU TV show since She-Hulk. Some of these are apparently pretty good, some apparently less so, but honestly I have had neither the time nor the interest to engage with any of these. That being said, they got me. I can complain about nostalgia bait and using IP to drag people back in all I want, but when I saw they were making more Daredevil, I'm not gonna watch it. Original Daredevil, specifically seasons 1 and 3, are inarguably some of the best stuff the MCU has ever put out, period. But the Netflix shows did have a bit of a fall off, and Marvel in general has had a bit of a fall off, so I went into this with cautious expectations. In fact, honestly a little worried, because I have a bit of a fondness for this character and this world, and if they completely ruined it, I would be kinda sad. So now that Daredevil season 4, or Born Again, is wrapped up, let's talk about it.
I was also raised believe in retribution.
Also, spoilers for Daredevil Born Again. So did this season ruin the Daredevil character, show, brand? No, it did not. Is it as good as the best of the Netflix show? I'm also gonna say no, but when the show is at its best, which it is for quite a bit of it, it's honestly pretty damn good. My main problem with it is the cohesion of the show, and the fact that it feels like two different shows mushed into one, and one of those shows is definitely better than the other. But first, let's talk about what's good here. First and foremost, above anything else, the main thing the show has going for it is Charlie Cox as Matt Murdock. I cannot overemphasize this. He's fucking perfect in this role, and also just as a man. Charlie Cox in this role may be my favorite piece of casting in the entire MCU, honestly. Not just that his character is interesting and complex and a lot more nuanced than a lot of the other Marvel heroes we get, especially nowadays, but it's also his performance. He nails all aspects of the character. He has the rage and intensity and that darkness inside that you need for the Daredevil persona taking over him, the battle between good and evil, etc. But also when he's Matt Murdock, he has that charm, that likability. You can see why people in the show like him. He has the most game of anyone in the MCU, by a country mile. Honestly, I would go so far as to say he's a bit of a horny dude, but that's also a welcome bit of flavor in the otherwise very sexless Marvel Cinematic Universe. Honestly, he's graduated to the level of TV character who I would just watch going about his day. Like, I just like him that much, akin to a Dale Cooper from Twin Peaks or a Nick Miller from New Girl. He's fantastic, he's perfect in this role. I'm very happy to see him back. His counterpart, Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk, is also fantastic, and that is aided by what I think is this season's biggest strength. He's given interesting stuff to do. Instead of going down that underground criminal mob boss kingpin route, we get to see him as mayor, which leads to some interesting storylines, some interesting new characters, some interesting real-life parallels, even. On the show being well-written and having interesting stuff going on, the fact that it's not really a superhero show for a lot of it may have been a slight turnoff for some people who wanted to see that Daredevil action, but I think it's actually really impressive and commendable given the current state of the MCU and the current state of streaming service slop content in general, that there was clearly time and effort put into writing something interesting here. Interesting character conflicts, interesting real-life parallels and commentary with the BB report and that client that Matt represents. You know, in a lesser version of the show, what I maybe thought the show was going to be, you would gloss over all this courtroom stuff, you would have it in the background just as like the Daredevil iconography, like look, he's doing the lawyer thing, just so you could get to the big fight where he punches Kingpin or whatever. But the fact that they took the time to do it well pays off, because it's a compelling show for those episodes where they do it. The Hector Ayala stuff, fucking great. That's a great storyline, really well done. You don't even notice that Daredevil isn't really in it much, and there isn't really that much superhero stuff going on. And as we'll get to, when they do that stuff, you kind of wish they would go back to the other stuff. Everyone else is great in this as well. Michael Gandolfini plays the most punchable character I've seen in a long time. I say that as a compliment. Never gets punched though, kind of a missed opportunity. Like I mentioned, the Hector Ayala stuff is really good, and Camar de los Reyes is great in that role. Rest in peace, by the way. I like Margarita LaViva as Heather. I'll be honest, I did miss Karen Page a little bit throughout this, but I get they wanted to go in a different direction, and when she shows up at the end, it's a welcome return. Also on her and Matt's relationship, I just thought it was funny when Matt hit her with this moment straight out of New Girl.
You have been checking out on me, disappearing physically and emotionally.
Mr. Mayor.
Oh my God, you're not even listening to me, are you?
Yes, I am.
And he starts drifting off during important conversations. Are you listening right now?
What's that? Wilson Bethel's good. We obviously get John Bernthal back as the Punisher. He's great as well. He's another probably like top 5 MCU casting choice of all time. Yes, him and Matt are having the same argument they had 10 years ago, multiple times. Like in that finale when they're fighting again in the middle of that fight, it's like, all right guys, I think we've established you have differing views on killing people. I think we got that. But they're both so good in these roles that it's still compelling. I could honestly just watch a whole episode of them talking. Now with all this praise I'm laying on the show, it may feel like we're going back to a 2015 B.H.L. Hudson. A B.H.L. Hudson who gave Avengers Age of Ultron a 9 out of 10. I actually did that. But unfortunately, we do have to take a turn and talk about what wasn't so great about this season. And really it is one main thing that spins off a bit into other things, and that is the cohesion of this show. Now I know the production of this was slightly turbulent, or changed a bit at least. I think they were originally supposed to do 18 episodes. I think there were some heavy reshoots involved. I don't know all the details, but watching this, the show kind of feels like when someone takes 2 decks of cards and like folds them together, because there are very noticeable moments, even whole episodes, that feel like they are from a different show, like the Disney Plus version of this. And I don't know if that's the show they were originally making and then they reshot it to make it better, or if that was the reshot stuff and they put that in to make it more superhero-y and Marvel-y, but there are distinct differences. Let me go through the episodes real quick. Episode 1. I didn't hate this episode, but like, holy shit, they crammed a lot into this episode. Like, you kind of get whiplash from how fast it's moving. We're back with these characters. Oh, this is fun, I missed these guys. Oh, hey, Bullseye's back. Oh, hey, Foggy's fucking dead. That was fast. Then Wilson Fisk is like, I'm running for mayor. And you're like, okay, this could be an interesting season-long arc. Fisk running for mayor. I wonder how people will react. Boom. He's elected in like 10 minutes. I get that the show wanted to get to this point to start. Matt's done being Daredevil, Foggy's dead, Fisk is mayor. But that first episode does kind of feel like 3 episodes crammed into one. Then episodes 2, 3, and 4... great. No notes. They're paced well. They're written well. It is smarter and more interesting than your average Disney Plus Marvel show. Then we get episode 5, the bank episode, which, as a concept, not a bad idea, but it does halt the momentum of the show a little bit. Feels a bit like a cold open or something. And tonally, it is noticeably different from the show we've been watching. And it's not entirely because of this, but the Ms. Marvel tie-in cameo definitely plays a part in that. We get Ms. Marvel's dad in this episode as a cameo, and this guy, he just doesn't work in the Daredevil world. This comic relief character from one of the zanier MCU projects just does not fit in the show that we've been watching. And the MCU-ness of it all is just kind of awkward. Like, if you just have Ms. Marvel's dad in the bank, you can be like, oh, that's a tie-in. Like they do with Lalo later on. It's like, oh yeah, I remember that guy. He was in Hawkeye. But they can't just leave it at that. So he's not just Ms. Marvel's dad, but he also has a World's Best Dad mug, in case you didn't make that connection. He talks about his family. Okay, that's another connection. He talks about his daughter. Okay, got it. He pulls out a Funko Pop of her. They talk about her throughout the episode. They just hammer it home too much. It's already kind of awkward having this character in this show. But to put up the blinking neon, this is an MCU cameo sign. It's just not the move. Then episode 6, this is where that shows messing together thing comes out in the editing, where the whole show's been building to Matt Murdock becoming Daredevil again, and the conflict of should he do it, should he not do it? You know he's gonna do it, but whatever. But the moment he decides to do it, it's not edited the way like you would think it should be to really emphasize this moment and what this means for this character. Like he says fuck it, and then he opens the shed door, and then he's swinging through the city. And I'm not saying we need like a big suit-up montage, but this moment feels more like an editor trying to make a moment work with the footage he has than like a truly planned-out epic moment, if you know what I mean. And there's a similar moment later where the girl is kidnapped, where I feel like if this was more planned out, you would have her getting kidnapped by Muse kind of be more of a moment. But instead, she hears like a vague rumbling in the background, we cut to a different scene, and then we cut back and she's being carried away by Muse. And I know that might sound like a nitpick, but to me, again, it's a little bit distracting. It kind of takes you out of it. It's like, why are we trying to gloss over this and get past this instead of having it be a scene in itself? You get the information, she was kidnapped, but you don't get any feeling out of it. I don't know. It stood out to me. And then episode 7 also feels like a less well-written version of the show. When Muse is talking to Heather, the therapist, not gonna lie, kind of like CW villain-esque. And then Daredevil bursts in, it's supposed to be a cool moment, but the costume looks a little goofy with this lighting. And really that leads into my other point. The superhero stuff just isn't very strong in this, for a variety of reasons. First of all, visual effects. I know it's not a new thing to rag on Marvel for visual effects, and I'm sure these visual effects workers are overworked. It's not really a talent thing, it's a time thing. I get that. But also, I can't just ignore some of these Daredevil CGI rubbery jumping around shots. Blade 2-esque. And the action, there are some highlights. I like how brutal it is, there's that. But between the editing and the choreography, it's just not as good as what we got in the Netflix seasons. It feels kind of standard, you know. Normal action scenes. Nothing I'm going to go back and revisit or think about, really. And again, back to my main point, I don't know if this was because of a messy production, maybe this is just how it was always going to be, but you contrast the actually interesting character stuff, legal stuff, Fisk Mayor stuff from earlier on the show, to then when it starts getting more into the superhero stuff, it feels like you're just watching a dumber show. Like, I feel like I could show my parents the first few episodes, and they'd be like, okay, this is kind of interesting. And then as it goes later, they kind of be like, oh, this is like a superhero thing, huh? They just didn't mesh as well as I think they could have. Honestly, I would have taken a whole season of just Matt, retired from the Daredevil persona, dealing with Fisk being mayor. You know, occasionally he beats up some goons, we can have the requisite action scenes. But if you had this whole season, he's not Daredevil, he just occasionally does some stuff like that bank episode. Kind of like Daredevil season 1, honestly. That would have been cool with me. Now, the show doesn't completely fall apart, because episode 8 is actually kind of fucking awesome. You've got tension and build-up and payoff to stuff that's been building the whole season. You've got shocking moments. You've got some actually like kind of cool filmmaking at times. Again, this episode feels like it's from a real show. A good real show. And then the finale, I literally just watched it, so I'm still kind of processing it. But it was pretty good. Kind of anticlimactic. Had that like movie split into two, end of part one type feeling to it, where I was like, oh, so we don't really get any resolution to this. Okay. It's fun to see Daredevil and Punisher team up in sort of that comic book type way, but it's not as interesting as like the Hector Ayala stuff to me. This is not me trying to be like a pretentious hipster, by the way. I'm not trying to be like, actually, I don't want any action scenes in my superhero show. But I don't know. I feel like episode 8 was a more compelling sort of climax moment than episode 9 was, for me at least. Basically, this is how I'd break this season down. Episodes 2, 3, 4, and 8 actually kind of fantastic. Like some of the best stuff Marvel has put out in years. And then episodes 1, 5, 6, 7, and 9, while certainly not bad, were not as interesting and feel kind of more Disney Plus-like. It falls a little flat. It's just not as well done as like the superhero stuff in the original series was done. So yeah, overall, Daredevil Born Again, I think I was pleasantly surprised. I thought this was going to be another cash grab. Look, it's a thing you recognize and like, we're bringing it back without really having any good original ideas for it. And I was wrong. There were clearly good ideas behind this, clearly effort put in. I just think it doesn't come together as cohesively as a great season of television would. All in all, I'm between a 3 and a 3.5 stars. Yes, I'm doing Letterboxd ratings now, because I use that app more than any other on my phone. After episode 8, I was definitely going to go 3.5. After the finale, closer to a 3. I do love Charlie Cox, which bumps it back up to a 3.5. I'm going to say 3 stars. 3 stars for Daredevil Born Again. I think it's maybe as good as season 2, not as good as seasons 1 and 3. It is, along with Guardians 3, I would say the best thing Marvel's put out post-Endgame. So, those are my thoughts on Daredevil Born Again. What did you think of it? Let me know down below in the comments. While you're at it, be sure to like this video, check out my Instagram at BHL_Hudson, my Letterboxd at RealBHLHudson, and subscribe for more videos like the one you just watched. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.